So this is a silver salmon fillet that I caught today in area 10. Just brought it home, filleted it out. I put the other half in the freezer, and this one is going to go in the smoker. I do a super simple brine for my salmon. It's just salt and sugar and water. My recipe is very simple as far as salmon brine goes. It's just granulated sugar, kosher salt, and warm water. Well, I don't brine in warm water, but I start out with warm water so that the sugar and the salt melts. You use a 1/4 cup of kosher salt, because kosher salt and sea salt are saltier than like table salt. So you use a 1/4 cup of salt, kosher salt, 1/2 cup of white sugar. You can use brown sugar if you want, but I prefer to not use brown sugar or soy sauce or teriyaki. I'm kind of a smoked salmon purist in that respect, where I don't add any kind of flavoring to salmon other than the sugar, because I like the taste of the smoke in the salmon. So that's what I go for. Let me make these up, and I will cut the salmon into, actually I can just cut it up right now. I'm going to cut this salmon into like thirds probably, because we're going to eat some of it today and we're going to save some of it. I always like to save a little bit. Half a cup of sugar. 1/4 cup of kosher salt. Like I said, this salt is very salty, so if you do like the standard recipe of 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of salt, you'll end up with really salty smoked salmon, because kosher salt is really salty. Then I put in about 1 quart of warm water. Try not to break the jar. Stir it all up until it's dissolved, which may take a while. Let me put the lid on this and slosh it instead. We'll just slosh it around like this. And before you put the salmon in, the water has to be cool, because if you put that salmon in warm water, it will start to cook the salmon, which you do not want. And so one of the key things here is you let the salmon rest and dry out a bit. I like to dry it out. There's actually a school of thought who will actually freeze the salmon before they brine it, because the freezing process dries the meat out a little bit and changes the end result of the fish. I don't do that typically unless I buy my fillets from the store, or I happen to have some that are hanging around. So there's our dissolved brine mix. I'll get back to you when the water's cool. Okay, we're back. This has cooled off significantly. I'm going to go get the salmon from the other refrigerator. I'll be right back. So the brining process is as simple as it gets. I like to brine them meat side down. And it doesn't seem like there's that much liquid in there, but when you add the salmon, it displaces and becomes plenty of liquid that's in there. So that's how we're doing that. Slosh it around a little bit. Get lots of brine, covering it up. And now it's going to sit in the brine for 8 to 12 hours. Now the next step, and it's 12 hours later, by the way, is to drain the brine off the fish, which I've already done, and place the fish on your smoker rack and let them dry out a bit. So that's what we're going to do. And because I have a much bigger smoker than the amount of fish I have, I'm going to put 1 piece of fish on each little rack. So when the fish, that's cold. When the fish comes out of the smoke, or out of the brine, its consistency is quite a bit different than when it went in. It's a lot firmer and slightly different colored. That's the chemical reaction that takes place when you brine it to make it tougher, I guess. It holds up well in the heat, because if you didn't brine it, then it would end up melting in the smoker because of all the fat. but something in the salt and sugar and water process firms it up. And you'll notice as it dries out that it gets a glossy shine on it. And that glossy shine is a result of the remainder of the brine being on the fish and the chemical change that took place in the brining process. So now we'll let those sit there for a little while. They've been sitting out here for about 45 minutes, and now it's time to put them in the smoker. So when I smoke salmon, I use alder wood. These, you can get these as chips and pellets. Obviously, if you buy the pellets, if you use a pellet stove, or the chips if you're doing it in a smoker. But I find that in my smoker, the pellets burn longer, so they smoke longer. So I've started using the pellet stove pellets in my smoker. So next up, we're gonna go outside and put the fish in the smoker. So this is my smoker. It's an old, what is it? An old Masterbuilt electric smoker. I've never used like a propane powered or whatever, you know, traditional like fire smoker. I've always used electric smokers. My very first one was a small little Lur Jensen aluminum box type smoker. This was an upgrade several years ago, and I really like the electric smokers. They have a good controllable temperature and they smoke well. And this one, because it's like a little kegerator refrigerator, it opens, it's easy access. So anyhow, let me go get the fish. We'll get her started. So that's really all there is to it. With this particular smoker, that's all there is to it. You slide the fish in. I have this smoker set to 215 degrees, and you want to smoke it until you get an internal temperature in the fish of about 140 degrees, but I don't ever check the internal temperature. I go based on the firmness and consistency of the fish. And for me, depending upon the time of year, because the air temperature affects how long it takes for the smoke to happen. Less so with this insulated smoker than with the aluminum box smokers like the Lur Jensen. This time of year in the fall when it's cool, and it's cool right now, so I'm gonna plan for at least 8 hours. If you were smoking fish in the middle of the day or during a warmer time of year, you might get it down to as little as 6. Or if it's really cold outside, it might be 12 hours. That's my method of how I get the fish done to my liking. And I like it really firm. I know a lot of people like it really soft, but I like it to be really firm and flaky and smoky. So that's my time frame basis. All those guidelines for how to get your salmon done properly can be found on the internet. And that temperature rating, I believe, is just for cooking fish. Because we cook at such a low temperature, it takes a long time to get up there. But when it's all said and done, you end up with a really nice, smoky, delicious fish. The next step is to put in the wood chips, which I left inside the house. Let me go grab the wood chips, and I'll show you how it works in this machine. So again, here's my alder wood chips, and this particular smoker just has a little door on the side right here, and you just put the chips in this little cup. And in my case, you have to be very careful not to touch the metal because it gets really hot. This is the part where I make a mess on the porch. And that's it. Now about every hour or 90 minutes, I come back and put more chips in. Periodically, I'll check the fish with a flashlight. That's one of the things I really like about this is the window in the front. I can see inside of there. Now, anyway, I'll periodically check the fish to make sure everything is cooking well and looking the way I want it to look. So I will see you in about 2 hours. Alright, so it's been almost 3 hours since I put this in. I was running errands and it ran longer than I thought it was going to go. But anyway, as you can see, the moisture clouds the front of the window, but as it goes through the smoking process, there's less moisture in there. And you can see in there with a flashlight. This has a light on it. Unfortunately, the light is on the outside of the cabinet, so you can't see in there when you turn the light on. Plus, if it's smoky in there, you can't see in there anyway. And I know I said I like the window. You have to know how to make use of it. I think if you're interested in this type of smoker, this one's pretty old. They don't make it anymore, but they make a similar one. I'll put a link in the description for it if you're interested in an electric smoker. But right now we're going to add some more pellets so that it continues to smoke. And right now it is actually smoking a little bit, and if you can smell it, it smells amazing. So I'm going to put some more pellets in here. I'm going to try to do it differently this time so that I don't spill them all over the deck. And I might still spill them anyway. Yeah, still spill them anyway because this thing is hot and you don't want to touch it. Alright, away we go. Next time we see each other, these will be coming out of the smoker. So I'll see you then. Hey, we're back. I almost forgot to record the event. As you can see, there's salmon on the counter. It's been almost exactly 8 hours. And this is what we get right here. Try not to burn myself. This one's the top one. It was the thinnest one. It's a little bit shriveled, but I guarantee you it's delicious on the inside. So, let me put this down. Alright, so what we've got here, I've been watching British television, forgive me, are the pieces of salmon that we started out with that were raw this morning before I headed off to church. And now they're done. And as you can see, they are reddish brown, firm, and dry. All the oil is rendered out of it. So all that fat that was in the fish is now cooked down and rendered out. And it is perfect. It doesn't look like the stuff you buy in the store because the stuff that you buy in the store is actually underdone and probably not as smoky as I make it. But that stuff that's in the store is very soft. And to my mind, not as good as this homemade smoked salmon. And what you have on the inside is lovely smoked salmon. Just like that. And I like to let it rest a bit because right now it's kind of hot, but I'm not going to wait. So there you have it. My routine for making smoked salmon. And as I said, there's lots of recipes on the internet, but this is my favorite. And it's absolutely worth it. Say hi, Olivia.
Oh, hey.
Crazy Olivia. This is my lovely vegetarian daughter who's going to try smoked salmon because it's so good that she doesn't say no to smoked salmon.
It's the only meat I eat.
Here, Rosie.
Thanks.
What was that face?
It caught me by surprise.
Well, it's the only meat you eat. Thanks for watching. So once I finish the smoked salmon, I always leave one out for the family. But since we have such limited supply this time around, I'm going to, and I do it all the time, but I'm going to package up these other two with my vacuum sealer so that we have them for later. I might have cut that bag too small. I'm going to find out. Womp womp. And vacuum sealing is like one of my favorite things because it it's one of those satisfying things to watch it suck the air out of the vacuum sealer bag.
Because I've been noticing my toenails are
Alright.
really little.
Place it in the thingy.
Maybe have some light for your video.
Yeah. And just like at the store, you get a bag, a vacuum sealed bag of smoked salmon. And that, I don't know how much they would charge for that, but that's probably 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of smoked salmon.
Weigh it.
I should weigh it, but I don't have a scale, so I'm not going to weigh it. Here we go again. So satisfying. This is like one of the most satisfying videos. Oh, I didn't get it. Wait, let me try again. Here we go. Most satisfying. Yes.
On a scale from 1 to slay, how much are you slaying?
Okay, that's it. That's all.